Laura Mathias is from Manningtree and has alopecia, and I'm very pleased to say she joins me now. Hello, Laura.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I think we can. Yeah, it's a little bit tinny,
Good.
but that's all right. You've got a great voice. So Laura, you've got alopecia. Have you had people staring at you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had a lot of people staring at me, and it's all kind of been condensed into the last 2 years since I've ditched the wig, as it were, and I've been trying to go out more and more without it. But I was 13 when I started losing my hair and put on a wig and then just refused to take it off in public until during the pandemic. So it's taken me a long point to get here where I'm willing to go out and let people see me bald. And so it is disappointing to see the survey results saying that overwhelmingly hostile behaviour is increasing towards people like me with a visible difference, especially when in the world at the moment we seem to be really championing diversity and adverts are improving and all sorts, but maybe it's not as authentic as we think.
Yes, absolutely. Because it is quite strange, isn't it? Because, you know, to not have hair, yes, is unusual in women, but it's not an unusual thing. I mean, you see thousands of men walking around bald as anything, and nobody would even glance or whatever. And maybe with a woman, you might say, "Oh, it's you haven't got hair," but it wouldn't make me stare. How very odd that people would take it on themselves. And what do they do when when you catch them staring?
I have had experiences of, well, even 2 weeks ago when I was on the train and a man was just staring and I tried to ignore it. And I just thought, that's fine. I guess he just needs a moment. Maybe he's not used to seeing a bald woman. But then when I looked back at him, expecting him maybe to smile or ask me a question or say something, he just kept staring. And it was really hostile and it made me feel incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly vulnerable. And it made me want to hide, grab a wig or do anything. And that's what this Stop the Stare campaign is all about, that we're campaigning for with Changing Faces, because why should I have to endure that? Why should I have to deal with that man's stare potentially ruining my day? What we all need to do is be more proactive and reduce that element of surprise when we see people of difference, because we can do that by proactively following different people on social media, being careful about what we're engaging with, listening to different, well, not different radio. Of course, we should all listen to Radio Essex, but
BBC Essex, actually. BBC Essex. There is a
BBC
Radio Essex, but we don't listen to them. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. So to listen around and surely to learn that there are so many differences in people. You wouldn't stare at somebody because of their race. Maybe people do. Maybe people do. Maybe people stare at people of different religions that wear different things or whatever. But when it's such yourself, I mean, you say you lost your hair. Look, I tell you, can I hang on to you? Because it's my travel now. I should have done travel before we even came to you. I'm going to come straight back to you. So stay with me if you would. What am I like? I'm getting worse. It's just that I was really excited about speaking to Laura, but I better find out what's happening on the roads.
BBC Essex.
We're back with Laura now. Sorry about that, Laura. I'll break off in a minute for have a bit of music and then we'll be back with you again. I'm going to keep you because you're very good. So you say that you started losing your hair at 13. Take us through that if you would.
Yep. So I was at the hairdressers with my mum and they were styling my hair at the back because, I was a young teenager. My hair and how I looked was really important to me. And they found a little 50p size bald patch just the back of my head. And she beckoned my mum over and got a mirror so I could see in the big mirror. And I just remember their faces and their concern, but then pretending that everything was okay. And just that real feeling of anxiety of why are the adults around me looking like completely lost, like they've never seen this before, they don't know what to do. But from that 50p size patch, it progressed within months until I barely had anything covering all the bald patches that had joined up at the back of my head.
Right.
And I was so anxious about being seen, being stared at, being bullied. I actually stopped going to school for 6 months.
Bless
yeah.
you. 6 months, crikey.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think at that age I had the emotional ability to deal with what I was going through. And unfortunately, despite, my parents trying their best and really trying to build up my confidence, as this campaign is showing, we need to do more as society to support people that have visible difference, because that emotional labour shouldn't all be on me. And especially at that age, I could not deal with it.
How did you deal with it eventually? So you're off school for 6 months. How do you then go back? Because how much hair had you lost by the time you had to go back, I suppose? You're getting 14, you're starting on your GCSEs.
Exactly. I made a decision at the end of the summer holidays that it was the start of a new academic year, and I just had to go back. So I went back for a week wearing hats and headwear, which if anything just drew more attention to me and the fact that I was hiding my hair loss. So then after a school trip where I'd been asked to take off my hat because we were in a church, I actually called my mum in tears and said, look, this happened, it was awful, everyone could see. I think it's time I shave my head and get a wig now. And she just said, oh, thank God, Laura, I was waiting for you to ask. And I remember thinking, hang on a second, you're the adult, why didn't you tell me this was an option? So yeah, from that point on, I went back to that hairdresser that found that first bald patch for me. She shaved my head after hours, so no one else was in the salon with me. She put on a wig and styled it for me. It was huge, came down to like my eyebrows, it looked ridiculous. Because wigs are not designed for, small 13, 14-year-old heads.
No.
And I never took that wig off again in public until this time 2 years ago.
Wow. That's incredible. How old are you now? Because I cannot tell at all.
Because you can't tell from my hair. When I'm 80, I'll be blonde and rocking it. It's going to be
fantastic.
No, so I'm 31 now.
So you'd never know. I thought you're about 23. I was going to say.
I love it. Love
yeah.
you, so.
No, absolutely. You look amazing. Your skin's incredible. Can I say that you've got a really good head? Because I lost my hair with breast cancer, having chemo, and I haven't got a great head. I thought I had a great head, but I don't have a great head, and I recognised then, and I just had a wispy bit at the top of my head. But I wore a wig, and it's really funny because I think I'm quite a positive person and quite a confident person, but I never once went out without my wig or a hat. Never once. And I thought I could. I thought I'll be singing Nothing Compares to You. I'll go out. I'll feel great. And I couldn't. And that really makes me realise that your hair is so important, and you don't want people looking at you. I didn't want people to know I had a great wig and I wore it all the way. And I thought I'd wear bizarre wigs. I thought I'd come into work and I wear a different wig every day, and I didn't. Yeah. I just wanted to look normal. I didn't want people to know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So lots of people have said to me over the years, oh, but you could mix it up. Why didn't you try blonde? Why didn't you try this? And yet I would bankrupt myself, saving up every 2 years to buy the exact same style and colour of the wig, because I thought that, it was important for me not to be judged by my alopecia. I didn't want it to be something that I celebrated because I thought that was bringing too much attention to it. But now I've realised actually embracing it has made me feel so much more happy because I'm not ashamed, and it's allowed me to have a better relationship with taking off my wig, in the sense that it's an extension to an outfit rather than part of me. Because previously, when I took off my wig, or I'd shut my curtains in my house in fear of a neighbour seeing me bald, and that's in my own space. So that's how strong my fear of the stare was. But now I just kind of think, the more I'm going out bald or in headwear or in different coloured wigs, I chat to my neighbours now. I have to introduce myself each time because they don't recognise me. And I feel like, you know what, I'm doing my bit so that if there's a 12-year-old going through the start of her hair loss journey, she's going to see at least me in Manningtree walking around and showing that I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'm bald, and it's okay.
And that's okay. Do you know, I have so much respect for you, Laura. I really do, because I'm the same as you. I think only my younger sister saw me bald, and that's because she had to cut off just the wispy bits because they'd all fallen out. And I said, somebody's got to do it. Will you do it? And she cried when she did it, and it was gone. But and I look back, and I'm so pleased you're doing that, because I regret, in a way, not grabbing hold of it, because it still worries me now that if I go through it again, I'd lose my hair again. And I sort of thought, no, I should have been braver. I should have done more. Will you stay with me? Because I'd love to talk more, but I really should play a bit of music, I suppose. So stay with me. If you have alopecia, if you lost your hair maybe through treatment, as I did, how did you cope? Laura is just so brave, but the wig is down. And she looks amazing. I mean, if I had her head, I think I'd do it as well. But anyway, I didn't. But how did you cope? 0800 111 40 41. Or maybe you've got something else which makes you visibly different to others. Do people stare? See, the terrible thing, I think I might turn around and say, mind you, Laura's really confident. She'd probably do the same. Can I help you? I know I'd want to say that, but of course you can't say it. And if you say it to someone who's horrible and staring, they might be really horrible back. How have you coped? 0800 111 4041. Do you know, I think she's on for 4 hours, actually. She doesn't know. But Laura Mathias is from Manningtree and has alopecia. And she's quite proud of it now. Well, she's not happy with it, but she's proud of it because she's not hiding away. And it's to help other people who may be going through this as a 13-year-old to find that you're losing your hair and then being off from school, staying away for 6 months till you went back. It's huge. So I thank you so much, Laura, for speaking with us and staying with us. And we were just talking through the music there, actually, and I was saying that, you know, my loss of hair was through cancer treatment, and I thought it would come back, and it has come back, and it's not as thick and it's not as nice as it was, but it's hair, and I'm very lucky to have it. And so, but I did have people come up to me who saw me, and I you know, the wig was hot, so you want to get rid of it now and again. So I'd wear a hat or something. And if anybody mentioned it to me, oh, how's your treatment going? I didn't want that. I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want my strangers to know. Friends knew, but I didn't want people to know. I mean, have you ever had that happen to you? Because people may think you're going through a treatment.
I find that's the biggest misconception people make when they see my visible difference as being a bald woman. I have recently, it was my first time going to a spa, completely bald, not wearing a bandana or anything. And I was in the pool, and a woman, a really lovely woman, came over to me and said, oh, how's the sea treating you? Where are you up to in your treatment? Just blazing as day, just making that assumption. And I just felt incredibly uncomfortable because there was me doing this first moment for me where I was like, yes, I'm embracing my alopecia, my visible difference. And somebody thinks I'm not well. And the worst thing was because she had also gone through treatment. She wanted to talk to me about it. So I felt like a fraud. But I think what you said there about wearing a wig, or as I like to call it, a hat of hair in the summer.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it is the worst thing in the world. And to think that we put ourselves through this and put ourselves into discomfort just for the social comfort of all the people around us who can't deal with seeing a happy, healthy bald woman. That's what has made me realise this summer I am determined to put my own comfort first and not worry about what other people think about me or any assumptions they make, because as well as alopecia, which is an autoimmune condition, I've got eczema because they're all part of the same family: alopecia, asthma, eczema. And wearing wigs in a hot summer makes my scalp so sore. I've even had open bleeding cuts on my scalp from a day of wearing a wig.
Oh.
And I'm just thinking, why am I doing that to myself in fear of people staring at me? They're going to have a lot more to stare at once I've got a bleeding head. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That is. I'll tell a story. It's quite a funny story, actually, but I'll tell it anyway, and I'm sure you've got lots. I came out of BBC Essex once, and we come up to a crossroads. So I'm in the car. I'd had my wig on all day, hot in the studio and everything, and I'm sitting by the lights waiting to go. And there's a van next to me, but I don't even know. So I take my wig off and I throw it over the back. And as I throw it, I turn and I see these two guys sitting in the van that are looking at me, and they both nearly vomited out of the window. You saw them literally go, oh my God, she pulled her hair off, oh my God. And I laughed all the way home because I was driving off. And it was a funny moment, and you have to almost grab onto those moments and say how ridiculous it is that these.
You have to laugh.
You have
totally. But what, what a shame that those men have never conceived of the fact that a woman could be bald. They need to open their eyes, and they need more women whipping off their wigs in the car.
Yes. Or they need more women to be as brave as you and not to even wear a wig or a hat or whatever. And they're hot things. And when you haven't got the hair to actually pin them into, you've got to wear sticky stuff if you want them to really stay on in the wind. They're a nuisance.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's just something that you have to think about all day, every day, whether I'm choosing to wear a wig or whether I'm not. I just am constantly thinking and worrying about what other people are thinking about me. And I didn't choose to lose my hair. I was very young when it happened. So why should I have to deal with the rudeness of people, whatever your intent is? Basically, this campaign is all about stopping the stare before you even do it. And a big way to do that, like I said, is diversify your social media feeds. Follow me, follow lots of different people so that you're not surprised and you can celebrate people of difference. And then if you do find yourself, because as you said, when I first joined here, we're curious creatures. Maybe someone hasn't seen a bald woman before. Maybe someone hasn't seen someone with a birthmark on their face before. I do understand curiosity is a big element, but we all know there is a big difference between looking at someone and staring at someone, and that is respect. And there are things you can do if you catch yourself staring, just like simply smiling or saying hello, to make that person with a visible difference know that it's not going to escalate into a hostile or awkward moment or a comment, because that really will make or break someone's day.
Well, do you know, I was just about to ask you actually, because sometimes you may be looking around and you can catch yourself that you're staring at someone through no other reason than you're miles away and you like their glasses, or you're looking at their hair, or you're looking at their non-hair, or you're looking at their facial disfigurement, and you realise and you catch yourself and they look at you. I think what I would do is I would smile and give a nod as if to say, oh, hello. And then look away because you are caught and you're being rude. So is that the best thing to do if you find yourself looking at someone who may be slightly different to you?
Yeah, I think if you can't stop the stare before you've realised you're doing it, it is definitely about being conscious and going out of your way to let that person know that you've noticed what you're doing. Just give them a smile, just immediately it breaks that tension. Because you don't know what that person with a visible difference is thinking. I've sat on a train with two young guys, got on clearly quite drunk, and I was just waiting for a comment to be made. And I felt sick sitting there waiting and seeing them looking, seeing them talking. And just a smile lets you know that actually it's going to be okay. And we shouldn't in 2022 be at this point where I'm having to mentally put on my armour just to leave my house as a bald woman, but unfortunately we are at that stage still. So that's why I'm so thankful that you're chatting to me. I get my photos taken out and about in Manningtree, and I'm doing my bit to try and be out and about a bit more, because I want to make it easier for other people with a visible difference too, and that's what Changing Faces is all about.
And it sounds a great campaign to me as well, by Changing Faces. So this new campaign has been launched to urge people not to stare at anyone with a facial or any other disfigurement because the impact it has on them. And Laura, I can't think of anyone better than you to be the front of it, to be honest, because you've been absolutely brilliant. And thank you so much. And I think as well that when people hear that at the age of 13, when you started losing your hair and you were off school for 6 months because you couldn't face going, and then for the next however many years you would not be seen without your wig. Bless your heart. 17 years. Because of staring and because of people looking at the difference. So now you are wearing your head with pride. You've got a great head. You have got a great head. You really have. And I thank you so much for talking to us, because I know that there will be people listening who maybe know a youngster who's going through the very start of this now and is listening to you. If anyone could have said to the young 13-year-old Laura to have helped, what would have helped you at that time?
I think I would tell any young person going through this, obviously, first off, it's going to be okay. Yeah. And also, do not be ashamed of your difference. The moment you start embracing it and stop hiding it, it is the most liberating feeling in the world. And you will find people respond so positively because you are setting the tone for how you want people to respond to you. So that's the thing. Just wear it with confidence and it will be okay.
Because so many people as well, young people, want to be noticed. They do tattoos all up their arms and legs. They shave their heads. They wear bizarre wigs. They do. So you might as well say, yeah, this is me and this is real. This is real. Laura,
100%.
Inspiration. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. If we want to follow you, how do we follow you? Where are you?
I'm on Instagram at Relight Alopecia, campaigning for Changing Faces, loud and proud on Instagram. So you'll see lots of photos of me. I even did a silly dance the other day and whipped off my wig. You know, you've got to do your bit to raise awareness. So yeah, Relight Alopecia.
Relight Alopecia. Thank you so much for joining us. An absolute pleasure. Laura Mathias from Manningtree, who's got alopecia, and she's proud of her head, and so she should. Very fine head.